Hello everybody and welcome back. Yes, hi Mel. And oh, that dog is distracting. Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Kari and today we are doing, there we go, that's where I was. Hi River. Today we are doing a books I recommend to my book club. I did this last year because about this time we start thinking about what we want to read for the next year. And I can't come up with just one or three because have you seen my bookshelves? There's way too many good books here. And then story, like it's a whole thing, there's way too many. So instead, I make a video about approximately 10 books that I think we should read. There are 2 of them that I don't own a physical copy of, so we're gonna start with those. The first one being Passing by Larson. This is a fiction novel about a woman who chooses to pass for white, as opposed to black. I believe her sister is black. I mean, obviously they're both biracial, but one of them chooses to pass and one of them chooses not to, and it's about that story of them. I really enjoyed that book. I think it's a very interesting commentary on what life is like to live, you know, and the differences between them. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a particularly comfortable look, but I think it's a really important look and it's a very well written story. And the other one is Sugar in the Blood by Andrea Stewart? Larson. Please hold. Andrea Stewart. This one I gave 5 stars. It's another nonfiction. I've only mentioned one and it was fiction. This is a nonfiction that is all about this woman's family. She comes from I believe, white on ultimately, her ancestors, you know, back in like 1800s, the guy was white, the woman was black, because yeah, that's the whole fun part. And she traces her family history from these 2 people all the way down to herself, and talks about how they worked on sugar plantations and the slavery part of it, and rape and race and just general historical knowledge. I thought it was a really interesting book, very well done. Clearly, I'm still remembering this, and I read it 2 or 3 years ago now. I really enjoyed that book. Again, some brutal topics, right? Slavery is not a topic you approach with any sort of joy. But it was a very interesting, very well written book. Now let's get into the ones I do have. First, 2 are books that I have not read but I want to. That is Fighting for Space by Amy Shira Teitel, which is 2 pilots in a historic battle for female spaceflight. I just bought this one in October as part of my birthday splurge. I didn't know there were women in the 50s trying to do what the men were doing. No idea, because we are not taught this. And I desperately want to read this. Let's qualify this, right, by saying that I desperately want to read every book in my life. Obviously, I have to prioritize, and sometimes it's just well, this is closest to me. But at any rate, our theme, I guess, that we're kind of going for is what sparks joy. I can point to a book and it'll spark joy, it doesn't matter to me, but this one I'm very interested in because it's not anything that I was ever even remotely taught about. Then we have Queens of the Conquest by Alison Weir, which is another nonfiction, and I just think it'd be really fun to learn about these medieval queens with other women who don't know anything about them, because I don't know which queens these are. Oh geez. 1066 to 1154. I might be able to name like 3 of them, if I am lucky. 1154? No, I think I can only name Matilda. See, that's what I mean though. It's very exciting to me. So I think this would be a really interesting book, and definitely something that we don't usually gravitate towards. If we're reading nonfiction, it tends to be more modern nonfiction, not so much medieval queens, but I think it'd be really cool. Another nonfiction, White Like Her by Gail Lukasik. This is her family's story of race and passing. This one I read, or picked up both, because I had read Passing by Larson and went, hey, this is like a real life story of that. I'm curious. And I think this was really interesting because Gail Lukasik is investigating her mom having passed for 40 plus years, and not telling Lukasik until she was much older, like married and had kids, kind of older. And so it's her coming to grips with, I'm, you know, not fully white, whatever that means, and stuff like that. I think it was very interesting, and it really kind of starts digging at the heart of what is race and why do we care. Very interesting, very well written. More nonfiction! Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History by Richard Thompson Ford, because I just think this would be really interesting and really insightful as to what we wear nowadays, gender roles, all that kind of thing. One of the most used examples, obviously, is high heels were originally made for men. That kind of thing. So I think it'd be really interesting to look into dress codes and what people have worn over the years. Then we have Helen of Troy by Margaret George, or really any of hers, but I think this one, or Cleopatra in particular, or Mary Magdalene, we could read that one, that one would be good too. It is a biography, like a fictionalized biography of Helen of Troy. It is very interesting, talks a lot, maybe not talks a lot, but kind of talks around, I guess, some of the ideas of beauty and, you know, what happened in ancient Greece and that kind of stuff. It just really brings Helen to life as a human and not just the face that launched up. Is it 1,000 ships? 10,000 ships? You can tell how much I paid attention. Although I'd rather her than Odysseus? I know they're not the same story. Are they the same story? No, they're not. I should reread some ancient Greek stuff. Anyway, One for All by Lily Lanehuff. If you've been here for longer than 6 months, you know that I did not particularly enjoy Three Musketeers. However, I love retellings of Three Musketeers, and I think this one in particular was really good. We have a main character with a disability, Potts, and she wants to be a musketeer. She's gonna be a musketeer. And so you follow her, she figures out how to become one. It's very cool, and I love it. One is my placeholder because 1, anything by Mercedes Lackey will always be recommended by me. 2, I am way too lazy to get out one of the books in her Valdemar series or the Fairy Godmother series that I'm actually recommending. So, this one would be good. Any of her Elemental series, any of her Valdemar series, any of her Fairy Tale series, but specifically I'm going with the Fairy Godmother, which is the beginning in her fairy tale retelling series, and she takes them, she doesn't just retell them, she combines them and, you know, twists them into different things. I know you're hungry, you're fine. That kind of stuff. So, I think this would be really fun. Give me 5 more minutes and I will feed you, okay? Good girl. Then we have The 20th Wife by oh my goodness, Indu Sundaresan, which is about Nur Jahan, if I'm not mistaken. Well, her name is Maranisa in this one. But yeah, Nur Jahan, who is the mother of Shah Jahan, who is the man who built the Taj Mahal. I loved this trilogy so much. It is so good. It's beautifully written and just gorgeous. So I think this would be really interesting to read, and it would definitely diversify our reading in terms of, you know, outside of the States or the UK in particular. Obviously I couldn't finish this video, I'm gonna have one more, but I couldn't not mention Babble by Rf Guang. This is all the rage at the moment, and rightfully so. It is not for everybody, I will say. I have seen several people who either think they're not smart enough for it, or they just don't like it because it's too slow for them, or they think it went in a wrong direction somewhere. All completely valid. We all have our opinions. However, my opinion is that this book is bloody brilliant. It is 1828, and we follow Robin Swift, a young boy through his life, who is taken from China and brought to the UK because he speaks both English and Cantonese, although they really want him to speak Mandarin, so he kind of works his way there. Anyway, language is at the heart of this magic system in this book, and he goes to Oxford in the 1830s. That sounds right. And it follows all of that with etymology and linguistics and racism and colonialism all tied up into this one book, and it is slow moving but brilliant, so I could not possibly have not recommended Babble. And last but certainly not least, we have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Or again, anything by Jules Verne. This is the only one of his works I've read. Still to this date, I need to read more. But I love it. It's very, I don't know, it's just good, right? I know he's not, people say he's the father of science fiction. I'm not entirely sure whether he or Mary Shelley wrote it first, but regardless, they're the parents of it, right? So it's fascinating to look at 20,000 Leagues and kind of, you know, oh, well, here's like actual real sciencey bits. He's naming things in Latin. And to look at all of that. So yeah, I would love to reread this or read anything else by Jules Verne because I just think it's a fun story and has some good talking points. There we go. Those are all of the books that I will, in 2022 anyway, recommend to my book club. Also, if you're looking for more recommendations for book club, check out my video from last year, which has another 10 to 15 on it because I can't not. Anyway, I had better go feed the dogs before Melody collapses because she thinks she's starving. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in my next video. Bye.